I have been with my wife for 6 years total, and we have been married for 3 of them. Her dad has always gotten under my skin, but I put up with him for her. He is the kind of guy who acts like the world owes him something. He always has a reason nothing works out, why he needs help, or why everyone else has it easier than he does. I collect vintage cars as a hobby because I can afford to, and I genuinely love it. I bought my first one about 8 years ago and kept building from there. It is something I care a lot about. My father-in-law cannot stand that. At every family get-together, he makes some little comment about how nice it must be to have money, how some people get all the breaks, how he wishes he could just go out and buy whatever he wanted. Never mind that I worked my ass off to get where I am. Never mind that the reason he is broke is completely his own fault. In his head, I got lucky and he just got screwed by life. My wife is always covering for him. She says he is having a hard time. She says he means well. She says family matters and we need to be patient with him. I have been patient for 6 years, and somehow his hard time never ends. After a while, you just have to admit that some people are simply like that. Then last week, he texted me asking if he could borrow my 1967 Shelby GT 500, not my everyday car, my collector car. The one I spent 4 years restoring with my own hands. I picked every single part carefully and made sure every detail was exactly right. That car is worth around $180,000. And that is me being conservative. Some similar ones have sold for more than $200,000 depending on the condition. He said he wanted to take it to a car show with a few friends for the weekend. He told me he would take care of it. Said he would be careful. I looked at the text and told him no right away. That car does not leave my garage unless I am the one taking it to a show. It is not a loaner. It is not something somebody borrows for a fun weekend. I told him directly it was not happening. He got all pissed off about it. A few days later, I was working from home and decided to check on the cars around the middle of the day. I have a detached 3-car garage with a full security system. My wife has had the code for emergencies ever since we got serious. I walked into the garage and the Shelby was gone. Just an empty spot where it should have been. My stomach dropped the second I saw that empty space. Right there in the garage, I pulled up the security footage on my phone. The timestamp showed that morning at around 9:47 a.m. My father-in-law walked in like he owned the place, went straight to the lockbox where I keep the keys, opened it, found the key, backed the car out, and drove off. Clear as day on camera. He must have seen me open that box before and figured it out. I called my wife. She was over at her sister's house doing something. I asked her if she knew her dad had taken my car. She sounded completely thrown off and said no. Asked me what I was even talking about. I told her to call him immediately and find out where my car was. About an hour later, she called me back. She said she had called him 5 times and he still was not answering. At that point, she was worried too. The messages showed as read, but he was not replying. I sat there waiting, checking my phone every couple of minutes, then replaying the security footage again just to make sure I was not somehow imagining this. I was not. There it was, plain and simple, my father-in-law committing grand theft auto in full high definition. At around 4:45 that afternoon, he finally texted back, and what he said made my blood boil. Relax, I sold it. You'll get your money. I had to read that 3 times to make sure I was seeing it right. He sold my car. My car. No permission, no asking, no paperwork, nothing. He just took it and sold it like it belonged to him. I called him right away. He answered like everything was normal. Calm as could be. Then he started explaining that he found a buyer willing to pay $165,000 in cash. Said he took a $15,000 finder's fee for putting the deal together. Then he said he would send me the rest, minus what I supposedly owed him for all the dinners and help over the years. I completely lost it. I started screaming at him over the phone. The man stole my car, sold it, kept part of the money, and somehow really believed he deserved even more. He told me I was overreacting, said I had plenty of money and 1 car was not a big deal, said he needed it more than I did and I should actually be thankful he got such a good price for it. I told him flat out that he had committed a felony. He laughed. He literally laughed. Then he said I was not going to do anything because it would upset my wife and tear the family apart. He told me I needed to think about the bigger picture. I called the non-emergency police line and told them exactly what happened. My father-in-law had stolen my vehicle and sold it. I had video footage, text messages, and everything documented. I sent them everything. The VIN, the security video, screenshots of our messages, and his contact information, and I filed an official stolen vehicle report. My wife got home maybe 30 minutes after I finished with the police. The second she walked in, I could tell her family had already gotten to her. She was crying before she even got the words out. She begged me not to press charges against her dad, said he made a mistake, said we could handle this as a family, said I was going to destroy his life over this. I told her straight out that he committed a felony. He stole a car worth close to $200,000 and sold it without permission. The second he drove my car off my property, this stopped being some family issue. She kept crying and saying I was being cold, that he was her father, and that there had to be some way to work this out. I asked her what exactly she thought there was to work out. He stole my car, sold it, kept money that did not belong to him, and then told me I owed him more on top of that. There was nothing left to work out. The police were already involved. She asked me to call the police back and drop it, said she would talk to him and make him return the money. I told her that was not how this worked. You do not steal a car and make it all better by handing the money back like you borrowed 20 bucks. She was not hearing me at all. She just kept saying I was tearing her family apart. The next morning, the police found him at his apartment. They arrested him around 6 a.m. Turns out he had not even given the buyer real paperwork. All he had was a handwritten bill of sale with my signature forged on it. My signature. The buyer was some guy he met in a bar who paid cash and never asked any questions. The whole deal was shady from the beginning. The police were able to find the buyer, too. The guy showed them the handwritten bill of sale and said he had no idea the car was stolen. They took the Shelby as evidence. They told me I would get it back eventually, but it could be weeks while they worked through everything. The buyer was obviously furious. He was out $165,000 and might never see that money again. My father-in-law definitely did not still have it. From what I heard later, he had already burned through $8,000 in 2 days. I have no clue what he spent it on, but knowing him, probably something stupid. Later that same day, my wife gave me an ultimatum. She said if I did not drop the charges, she was leaving. I told her that was her decision, but I was not dropping anything. She said I was picking a car over our marriage. I told her her father picked crime, and she was choosing to stand behind him. We argued back and forth for a while, but neither of us gave an inch. That night, she packed a bag and left, said she was staying with her sister. I did not try to stop her. About a week after the arrest, the prosecutor's office reached out to me. They were moving forward with charges: grand theft auto, fraud, and forgery. This was serious. Serious enough that he could be looking at years in prison. They asked if I wanted to pursue full restitution. I said absolutely. The car was worth at least $180,000, and I had put even more money into restoring it over the years. They needed records for everything. I spent 2 full days putting together a complete file. Every receipt, every invoice, every piece of paperwork tied to that car. The purchase price, parts, labor, storage, insurance, all of it. When I added everything up, it came to around $215,000. I sent the whole file to the prosecutor. The buyer also filed a civil suit against my father-in-law to try to get his money back. Good luck with that. From what I understood, there was nothing worth going after. He rented his apartment. His car was maybe worth $3,000. He did not own anything that mattered. Around then, it finally sank in that my marriage was probably finished. My wife had made her choice. She picked her criminal father over basic respect and common decency. By that point, I was not even angry anymore. I was just disappointed. After 6 years together, I really thought she would have better judgment than this. The next couple of weeks were a blur of court stuff and calls with the prosecutor's office. They were putting together a strong case. The evidence was crushing. Security footage, text messages, the forged bill of sale, the buyer's testimony, financial records showing he had already spent a good chunk of the money. One night, I sat down and started looking into divorce laws in my state, what the process looked like, and how assets usually got split. Thankfully, I had a prenuptial agreement. I had insisted on it before we got married. My wife was not happy about it back then, but she signed it. At that point, I was grateful I had looked out for myself. Most of my money had been earned before the marriage anyway, and I had always kept our finances separate. She was not going to get what she probably thought she was entitled to. A few days later, a process server came to my house. Divorce papers. She had actually gone through with it. I signed for them and immediately contacted someone I knew who handled cases like this. I forwarded everything over. He told me, given the prenup and the separate assets, it should be pretty straightforward. My wife was asking for spousal support and half of everything. Her argument was that she had supported me emotionally during the marriage, and that should count for something. My guy said emotional support does not cancel out a prenup. A few weeks ago, I posted about all of this, and after getting a bunch of messages asking what happened, I figured I should give an update. The trial was last week. After all the buildup, it honestly felt almost anticlimactic. The prosecution laid everything out step by step. They showed the security footage of him walking into my garage and driving off in the car. They brought up the text messages where I clearly told him no twice. The buyer testified too and described the shady cash deal they made at a bar. They also showed the fake bill of sale with my forged signature, which looked nothing like my real one. On top of that, they had financial records proving he burned through $8,000 in just 2 days at a casino, on furniture, and on bottle service at some club. His whole defense came down to him saying he thought I would not care because we were family. Family helps each other, that was his excuse. He also claimed he meant to give me most of the money back eventually. His public defender tried to make it sound like the whole thing was just some misunderstanding that spiraled out of control. The jury was out for 3 hours. Guilty on everything. Grand theft auto, fraud, and forgery. Sentencing was the next day. The judge gave him 4 years in state prison with a chance at parole after 2. He was also ordered to pay full restitution of $233,500. That covered the sale value of the car, all the restoration costs, legal fees, storage fees, and everything else I had documented. My mother-in-law was in the courtroom, and the second the sentence was announced, she completely lost it. She started screaming, and the bailiffs had to drag her out. She kept yelling that I had ruined their family, that I was evil, and that karma was coming for me. I just sat there and watched them escort her out. Then I left the courthouse and went home. That was the end of it. My divorce was finalized quicker than I expected. My wife's side tried to argue that I had made promises during the marriage to financially support her family. They had no proof because I never did. The prenup held up exactly the way it was supposed to. She got next to nothing. Just some personal belongings, her car, and that was it. I have not heard from her since the divorce was finalized. Last week, I added 2 more cars to my collection. A 1970 Plymouth Barracuda and a 1963 Corvette Stingray. Both are in great shape. I paid cash for both. The Barracuda needs a little work, but nothing serious. The Corvette is flawless. My ex-father-in-law has to serve at least 2 years before he can even be considered for parole. After that, he would still have to show rehabilitation and come up with a real plan to pay restitution. Knowing him, I would bet he ends up serving all 4 years. The buyer's civil claims are apparently still moving ahead too. I also heard through the grapevine that more fraud charges could be coming because of other deals he was involved in. Turns out, when people really start digging into someone's life, they usually find a lot more than they expected. Not my problem. But I would be lying if I said I was not satisfied hearing that. So that is the update. Your father-in-law did not make some innocent mistake. He carried out a plan. He asked to borrow the car, you told him no, and then he waited until you were busy. He used what he already knew to get into your garage, found the keys, sold a 6-figure car to some random guy he met at a bar, forged your signature, kept part of the money, and then had the nerve to tell you to relax. As for your ex, this is the blunt truth. When somebody sees their parent commit a felony against their husband and their first reaction is, please save him from the consequences, that tells you exactly where you stand. This was never just about a car. It was about whether you were supposed to accept open disrespect and criminal behavior just to keep her comfortable. You said no, and honestly, that was the right move, because if you had given in, all it would have done was teach them that your boundaries can be ignored as long as somebody cries hard enough. If you have been through something similar, tell us about it in the comments. And thanks for spending time with us today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss our next video. Until next time, and please put your chair back where you found it.